Hello, welcome to the Thought Leadership Series, a collaboration between ETHR World and Coursera. I'm Pooja, the Associate Editor at ETHR World, and I'm delighted to introduce two industry titans who will engage in a thought-provoking discussion on the theme of manufacturing transformation, empowering Industry 4.0 through effective learning. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Manmeet Singh, Deputy CHRO, Hindustan Zinc, and Dallas Krishnan, MD, Coursera Enterprise India, Australia, and New Zealand. Welcome, Dallas and Manmeet.
Thank you, Pooja. Good to see you.
Manmeet, my first question is for you. Manufacturing is a highly competitive industry, and skill shortage in this sector have critical concerns. With advancement in Industry 4.0 technology, the challenges have only increased. How are you building an effective L&D strategy to upskill the workforce in areas such as analytics, data science, and automation, and also help leaders build in new age skills?
Thanks, Pooja. I think the subject that we are picking up today is very, very relevant and very, very important for at least our industry. So I'll start with a couple of aspects that metal mining as an industry has not been the topmost, or rather, I would say there has been a laggard in terms of digital transformation, as you call it. Now, having said that, while there have been a lot of changes, a lot of initiatives that we have run, a lot of tools have been introduced. But given the nature of the industry, digital transformation has been slightly slow as compared to other industries. As an organization, Hindustan Zinc has been investing heavily in this aspect, starting from a course of, say, automation, where we build in sensors to capture the information, to making it digital, then to entire digitalization journey. So again, so all this we have been into this for more than a decade, or rather more than 2 decades now. But having said that, the use of this information and then transitioning that beyond is something which will actually generate value. Now, having said that, there are a couple of things. Now, you see, we are also working with a set of people who are supposed to be experts in their field. Because we have a very highly technical industry. So having said that, the kind of people that we work with have been in the industry for more than, say, a decade more, in the same company, doing the same kind of job, either moving from A to B industry, but in a similar industry. But having, so again, now to add to that, with the newer population that is coming in, the need for digital, the need for upskilling that population becomes very important, because the old age population with the newer generation that is coming in, we have to understand that the type of work or the nature of work that we want to give to them will have to change now. Only then we can actually get value from the digital transformation initiatives that we want to implement. Now here is where comes in the aspect of digital, or aspect of learning in the digital era. Now, couple of things which are very important is that there is one way of doing things, which is a technical way of doing things, running a machine, say extracting metal. But digital has to intersect along with the technical know-how to be able to generate value for the company. Now, for that, I need those technical people to be digitally savvy to be able to do that job, because I cannot have a digitally set process to straight away come and fit into the way we operate, because it's a very customized kind of a smelting or a mining complex. So our people have to be trained and enabled to understand digital and then look at the current technical processes into a digital format. For that, I think we have invested heavily, or we start to believe that digital analytics is the way to go. So first and foremost, we have to start to build in that culture of digital in the organization. For that, I think the new age generation that is coming in has to start to undergo various concepts of learning. And again, when we talk digital, all these learnings have to be digital itself. We can't have a physical learning model and expect people to start working digital. So I think the entire concept has to start to flow in from that. So we have to have the leadership buy-in. We have to have right tools in place. We have to have people and right content in place for people to be able to gather those insights and start to deliver in the organization. So a lot of investment is going around in this area lot of energy is going in this area, because we strongly believe that digital is not just a source of is not a third pillar. It is the main and mainstream element which can actually generate value in true sense. It's not a notional thing. It's in true sense a value generator for us now.
Thanks, Manmeet. This really improves our clarity as far as the manufacturing industry goes. And clearly you've told us that there is so much scope of skilling and reskilling in this industry. To that, Dallas, I'd like to ask you, Coursera works with so many different industries. So what are some of the evolving trends in learning?
Thank you. First and foremost, thanks, Manmeet. I think that's a good opener for me to pick up from. And as you spoke about digital transformation and digitalization as the key trends, and maybe the only point I would like to add is earlier digital transformations were done in smaller pockets, right? There would be a departmental one, there would be something which is picking up one value chain. What we are seeing more today is evolving digital business models, right? While the digitalization and digital transformation continues, which is transformation of processes continues, there is another trend we are starting to see where companies are starting to build completely new business models with technology being underneath it, right? Be it in the way the manufacturing plants are designed, to the way new business models in the context of customer acquisition is being rethought of, right? So we're talking of digital transformation as one force that existed, and a new wave that is coming in with the amount of technology getting embedded. We are starting to see these new digital models emerging, right? Now, coming to the L&D trends piece, so I'll talk about a few perspectives. One is the learning frameworks that we see. Second is what kind of skills, and third, I'll talk about platforms and technologies. These are three areas that I probably will cover. On the first part, on the learning framework piece, we continue to see the evolution from open learning to more skills-first learning, where people were earlier given choices what they wanted to learn, and they would choose what they wanted. They would choose what they do, or they were directed into certain forced certification programs or targeted programs, to roles being more clearly defined. As Manmeet said, the emerging new talent that is coming in is digitally savvy. So how they absorb the roles that they do, the tasks that they perform for the same job is changing. So as a result, job definitions are becoming more skills first, and that is allowing people to move to a skills-driven learning, right? So that's on the learning framework side. We see companies in different stages of maturity. We've seen mix of these depending on groups of people, but the predominant trend is of learning moving to a skills-driven learning, and roles being defined with clear competencies, right? So that's one learning framework context. Second, of course, the kind of skills, which fundamentally has two dimensions, right? Given the context of digitalization, digital business models, there is a focus around building new digital skills, right? So they're definitely a big area. And that is leading to a lot of retraining that people need to do, right? So, there is a study that talks about 61% of the workers that we have today will need some form of retraining by 2027. And bulk of that training would be in the areas that will require new digital skills to deliver that job, right? In the technology side, we hear big data, cybersecurity, digital platforms, e-commerce as key areas where there are big impact that is emerging, right? So that's in the context of what people are learning. On the human skills, right, which is outside of the hard skills like digital skills, we are starting to see leadership being more focused around trying to build problem-solving skills, right? Critical thinking skills, communication skills, because these have tended to become for adaptability skills, because these have become more important, because without strong and the evolving business models require a lot more problem-solving skills. So we are starting to see this focus around human skills emerging as a second trend. So that's in the context of the type of skills that we see in our customers. The third one, of course, is the adoption of platforms. And within there, we are starting to see this trend of people wanting to use the power of Gen AI in the platforms that can make learning far more experiential, learning far more customized, learning far more, I would say, can you bring the classroom to the person, right? So can we bring the classroom experience to the person is what we are seeing. And there we see another trend where learning platforms are adopting, AI and Gen AI capabilities that then help better learning experience. So these are the three broad things that I wanted to cover.
Very topical and to the point. Manmeet, we spoke about how to enhance digital skill amongst, the workforce in your industry, in your organization. Now, why is digital important? Today, digital is a catalyst for growth, for business success. So again, continuing in the same line, I would like to ask you, how are you using digital at Hindustan Zinc to achieve the next level of growth?
So we have around 7 pillars, as we say, in the organization, and one of the strong pillars is digital technology and how we do things. In anything and everything that we do, be it technology, be it operations, be it maintenance. In fact, even in the recent case, even if you go to say commercial, marketing, finance, HR, anything that you do. So as I was mentioning this, that as part of our overall journey, I think so. There are some around 7 pillars with which we run the organization as our overall cultural aspect. With say ESG being one, people being another, quality being another. Similarly, we have digital technology as one of our key pillars. And if anybody who joins the organization, that is one of the key aspects we talk to them about. That anything and everything we do, there has to be a digital way of doing it. Now, I'm not talking about core operations, maintenance. I'm also talking about aspects like commercial, marketing, finance, HR. And for example, I think I'll just talk about one example. We recently introduced the Vedanta Metal Bazaar. In that, we auction our metal, and we ask our customers to do everything online, and it's like a e-commerce platform for selling metals. It is available to all of our customers, be it existing customers. We even acquire new customers through that. That opens up the world not just to those only few of the say key customers around the country, but to the plethora of customers across the globe. So again, and we are looking at digital in every space that we do. For example, we have one HRMS solution. We have, so again, in everything that we do, we have, and all this integration is starting to flow. Now, all this to happen, the thought behind this is that once we start to move digital, there is so much more that we can do. Because with all of this, what we are giving is information at the tips of people for faster decision making. So ultimately, you make people more productive. Now, having said that, all this will lead to faster, and these are enablers for growth. And we fundamentally believe in that aspect. So at Hindustan Zinc, we are starting to look at how can we see what value digital has added and how can we monetize all the efforts that we say invest into digital as a transformation journey. It is not just as a good to have or a feel good factor that we are doing something digitally. It has become a business enabler or a business vertical in itself. For example, if you look at again, we have a target. I mean, I cannot put any numbers on this forum today, but we are definitely looking at a target of how to monetize and build X value of EBITDA through digital initiatives. We have even appointed our Chief Digital Information Officer, and he's an expatriate who's a specialized individual helping us in driving digital initiatives. And that individual has 2-3 key, KPIs, if I can put it that way. Or rather, not just the individual, the entire team per se. We have dedicated members who are running as digital champions in the respective region. So again, and in that zone, there are certain key areas. First is that how can we ensure that all information that flows in system is flown digitally, so that there is no manual intervention. It avoids errors, it eliminates chances of delay, and it helps all the information to be captured correctly or accurately. And it's not manually fed in, it's all digitally calibrated or digitally inputted. Second element is whatever information we receive, what are we doing with the information? Are we analyzing it? Are we using that information? And what kind of data-driven decisions are we taking through those whatever information we are capturing? Third is, with whatever decisions we are taking, what are we actually monetizing? What is the return on the investment that we are making on these digital interventions? So one is that how we capture. Second, when we capture, what are we doing with the information? Third is when we are doing something, what are the returns? So I think that gives added motivation to people to work even more on digital as a journey, and it doesn't just become say something which is far fetched. It seems that probably we have achieved so much, and probably there's much more to be achieved there. So that is how Hindustan Zinc is looking at growth with digital or growth through digital. Is what I can mention that way.
Dallas, you already mentioned about human skills, that one needs to balance digital skills and human skills when we're thinking about digitalization and transformational skills for the workforce. So, what, according to you, would be an advice to organizations, especially in the manufacturing side, who are building their digital skills for the workforce?
Sure. First and foremost, Manmeet, what a great example, right? It covered the context all the way down to the ROI. So beautiful example. Thank you. So in the context of the shift in technology, as I said, and one of the emerging areas as we spoke about is the context of human skills, right? And I'll give you some data points, right? But if 7% of the managers feel that the team morale and culture has kind of gone down ever since the emergence of hybrid leadership, right? So that's one of the new realities of our workplace, right? One of the challenges that we face is that it is motivating teams today is harder than before, right? And then, of course, in a hybrid workplace, we tend to see that people tend to be more micromanaging in nature, right? Of course, and the last one, which impacts the work-life piece, is the fact that people, especially managers, about 38% of the managers say that the work-life balance has worsened, right? So think of these as data points that's driving the workplace, and hence the need for newer types of leadership skills that need to be focused on. In the context of morale, empathy, emotional intelligence, and conflict management have emerged as some of the key areas. In the context of team motivation, we see trustworthiness, effective communication, and inspiration as key skills that are in focus. In terms of employee development and empowerment, we have collaboration, problem solving, and employee development as three skill areas that we have seen customers focusing on. And in the context of work-life boundaries, it's about leadership, project management, accountability, and agility, right? Where there is a lot more adaptability. So these are some of the skills, leadership skills that we have seen have become very important in the context of human skills in the emerging workplace that we have seen, right? Maybe just as an example, given Manmeet had a very specific example, I'll probably share one from our customer set. One of the steel and power conglomerates out of India. So they, similarly, their primary focus in their leadership programs was set up, 3-digit numbers, 100-odd people is what they used to look at. But with the emergence of this new workplace, they realized that this needed to be a lot more scalable, right? And they wanted to expand this from 100 to 2,000. So you can imagine the order of magnitude, right? So at which they need to start scaling. So traditional approaches to scaling leadership enablement and leadership training was not going to work out. So they work with us, and we have this academy called Leadership Academy. So they used our Leadership Academy, and as a result of which, they chose the key skills that were important. There were a bunch of digital skills. There were a bunch of leadership and human skills that they curated along with us, and then they deployed that with huge success, right? With tremendous amount of feedback coming in from this 1,000-odd leaders who went through this program in Leadership Academy. So that's an example of how this got done at scale in one of the organizations that we work with.
Great, Dallas. Manmeet, I'd like to ask you, the newer generations who are going to be entering this workplaces in a large number, they're very digitally savvy. So how do you ensure a great digital foundation or infrastructure available to them so that they can make the most out of digital learning, be it behavioral skills, be it hard skills, soft skills, human skills, all those kind of skills. And to that also, if you can add in your response, that how do you tap into the ROI part of such digital infrastructure? That'll be also useful for our viewers.
Thanks, Pooja. I think first of all, Dallas, I can't agree more. I think with the newer environment, I think the need to understand what are the newer traits of leadership that is required, or the skills that are needed for leaders to manage the newer workforce or the newer environment has completely transformed than what used to be a couple of years back. So I completely agree to your point in that. And the aspect that to scale up from say 100 to 2000 as an example for your company mentioned, it cannot happen without digital being in place. I think it could only just be imagined with digital being at our disposal. Otherwise, it just can't be imagined. Otherwise, it will take its own sweet time, and by that time, you will lose a lot of business value in that process. Now, so coming to the question, Pooja. So there are two parts of the question. First part is the newer generation that is coming into being part of the workforce. How are we looking at upskilling them or making them relevant for today's world? And second is of course the ROI. So I'll just attend for the first one first. See that the newer generation is definitely digitally savvy. But having said that, the kind of organization or the kind of industry space we are as a manufacturing industry, they definitely need to pick up some more skills. They need to really understand how to lead themselves, how to lead teams, how to lead an organization, how to lead transformations going forward. Because today's younger generation is tomorrow's leaders, and they are much more hungry than the previous generation. They want everything fast, be it learning, be it growth. They just want it as of yesterday. So having said that, even digital or even the learning space has to be provided to them as per and customized to their speed. So speed and convenience is something that we are focusing on. When we say speed, it depends on how a person can work towards it, how a person can whatever time or convenience a person can look at. Second element is we provide that learning experience at the convenience of a person's device. For example, even a person can start to learn on a mobile phone. So earlier it used to be that one has to come to X classroom at Y time, only when the instructor is there, only when a group of say 20 people will come together, will have a training program. But now with digital coming in place, all of that has made it a lot more easier. And all this, as I call it, is a Netflix generation. They are much more savvy in terms of knowing that content is available, and they can look at that content, read, absorb, either be nimble in their approach, or be having that idea of going into depth. So they just want everything at their convenience. So we have worked towards that. We are building digital academies. We are making learning academies so that we are making all these things available. So one is that they are digitally savvy, which is actually enabling us to upskill them better. But there are certain traits which we want them to acquire. So we have created or curated a specific program for them. Say Udan, where we are saying that there are 4 5 elements that they need to cater to. On digital space, they need to cater to digital transformation, AI, machine learning, automation, blockchain, and those concepts. Second aspect is data science. Third aspect is tech innovation. So they need to understand all these aspects so that they can help us drive this. Second element is on which are more developmental, which is how they manage their self, time, multitasking, communication, personality. Say again, and more portions of say again teamwork, collaboration, and then as they move up, they need to understand or say acquire the influencing ability, decision making ability, the ability to challenge the status quo, ability to consume information and have the analytical know-how. And all this has been curated in 2 3 phases in digital learning academies, so that they can at their convenience over the next say, 6 months, 1 year of their initial journey, start to pick up slowly start to gather, understand, absorb, and as they go into their workforce, go to their roles, they can start to acquire them and see how they are implementing all of that. So only then we can start to get into the ROI mode now. So now looking at the ROI aspect, it is one thing very, very important for our kind of a company. Anything and everything we invest in has to have an ROI. Okay, only then we can convince the board that we are actually spending the money, or we are getting a bang for every buck spent. So having said that, one is that driving this culture through all these programs curated digitally on our digital academy. Second is that how all these initiatives are being monetized. See, how do you look at success for a digital intervention? You can, and for any digital intervention is as successful as it is adopted. Only if people adopt to those digital technologies or tools or transformations will it be successful in the organization. So for that, you need that cultural aspect to be set in. So I think we are very much inclined and working towards that. So first thing first, we are sold that digital is the way to go. So and from the leadership buy-in, that is definitely there with us. Now, just one example I want to put here. One of our mines, which is the Sindhar Khurd mine in Rajasthan, is one of the most mechanized mine. Rather, we would claim it is one of the most mechanized mine, not just in the country, but probably in the globe. So when people from different companies, global companies, they come and visit us, they are amazed by the mechanization in that mine. So we have made it into a model mine. So when you go underground, the way it is made, you go probably more than a kilometer as you go down, say 800, 900 meters down. You see the kind of facilities, the training workshops, all done through digital, say technologies available. We have training and mining academies done underground. We have sessions done through, say, probably 800, 900 meters underground. I think so. All this has been possible only with the focus on digital that the company has been having for the last more than 5-7 years or more than a decade, I would say. So again, ROI is something which we are continuing to focus on, and we are generating a lot of ROI there. We are now trying to put a business plan in terms of a target that let us get $1 billion from digital interventions kind of a thought is probably which we want to evolve to.
Wonderful insights, Manmeet. Throwing the ball back at Dulles and asking him for some solutions here and his perspective on ROI for the manufacturing industry, as well as also, generative AI is creating tsunami in the learning world. So how do you think that can also have an impact on the manufacturing industry?
So, this is like when we said, the definition of ROI can be complex. Some companies, like Vedanta, probably have a much stronger focus in terms of how the dollar spent is equal to dollar earned. There are others which have a different perspective in the context of maybe trying to create more business impact, and it's more visible impact versus dollar impact, right? So you will find these trends between company to company in the context of how the management is focused on. But more importantly, what we typically see is that if a learning program is aligned to the larger strategic business goals of the organization, you tend to have a lot more support for those organizations. And we see this across sectors, right? And I'll probably start with a non-manufacturing example. This is a professional services company with a mix of, let me use the word legacy, not in the context of mainframe days, but in the context of today. They had a strong mix of portfolio, but the digital mix of portfolio with newer skills like an AWS or Azure, cloud, data, AI type of technologies were smaller, but they are the more profitable part of the business. The traditional software development, application support are the ones where the margins are lower today, right? So those are not high value work. So this professional services company needed to transform from being they were in the professional services space, but the mix of the business needed to change, and they needed to do that very rapidly. So, and professional services being a skill-driven business, it was aligned to the fact that that company was moving from an X number to $1 billion revenue. They had a profitability target. And from there came the fact that this mix of businesses need to change. And hence that would translate to what kind of people and how many people need to be skilled in those areas, right? So that's one of the initiatives that we work very closely with a professional services company to impact their outcomes. Now, closer to the manufacturing, we work with one of the largest conglomerates. Now, if you start seeing most of the large conglomerates in India, they're changing the mix of the business portfolio, right? So while they have the traditional businesses, you will find many of these also are trying to acquire new age business model business companies on the other side, right? So some people have gone to telecom, others have moved and acquired digital retail organizations and so on and so forth. You will find, so there's this mix of shift that we are seeing in terms of value of how the conglomerates are trying to have a mix of businesses in their portfolio, right? Vedanta, for example, was looking to move into the semiconductor space, right? It's a very high, moving into more digital and technology value chain as such. So now that is creating, if you see in these traditional conglomerates, very large organizations where a lot of people, and then this portfolio mix that is happening, right? Which is some of it is being done through organically through investments and growth, rather that they are doing through acquisition and new age stuff. So there was one of these conglomerates where we worked very closely around, and this was essentially built around a data and digital capabilities that they were building, because the future business, as they would call it, was going to be in that space, right? And that required a complete transformation of workforce, especially leadership workforce in the space that they did. There was another client where conglomerate in which case where the impact of these happened, and then they realized that this could actually improve the overall employee engagement as well, and this was extended to the employees' families, right? This was Reliance, and this is out in the public domain, where they've been working with us for about 3-4 years in some of the core critical areas. And then they've expanded this into providing this access to families, because that can then become the source of talent, as well as, of course, improved employee engagement in the digital space. So on and so forth. You find people looking at ROI in different ways. In short, there are more direct impact ROIs, like Manmeet said, dollar impact, where people measure, okay, here is how the skills got impacted, these skills delivered these outcomes. So that there are those as well. So we find these different types of examples emerging in this space. But bottom line, I think learning is becoming more critical, and then the decisions are becoming more and more aligned in the context of outcomes as well around it. It's not an activity anymore, it's a business strategy driven discussion.
This has been actually a very phenomenal learning moment, because both of you have shared great examples, industry stories, case studies as well. So thank you, our heartfelt thanks to both Manmeet and you, Dallas. With that, excuse me, with that, it's a wrap on this discussion on manufacturing transformation and its role in powering Industry 4.0 through effective learning. So viewers, I hope you found this useful and valuable. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Manmeet and Dallas again.